Well, it's something that you really don't think about. You got a chance to think about it if you have success, and if the more success you have, the better chance you have. But I didn't. I wasn't so sure I'd get in. I didn't really know. Everybody's story is a little bit different. But at the end of the day, it was very, very emotional when I found out last Thursday morning that I was going to be in the Hall of Fame, College Football Hall of Fame. And being emotional is probably an understatement. I was, you asked my wife Missy, I was kind of a wreck for the whole day, here in and out. And but it's kind of set in, and I'm just certainly honored, and I'm really looking forward to December when we all get together.
Coach, can you retell the story of how you found out what the box out front?
Yeah, it's real quickly. I had a box in front of my front door, and I forgot to get it. Got up the next morning, went to work out, came back, and I grabbed the box, took it in. And my wife Missy went in to get a shower. I opened it up. There's a football in it. I get people that send me footballs. Probably shouldn't say this. Send me footballs, and I sign them and I send it back. Okay, so that's what I thought it was. There was a letter on top, and there was a card that basically told the history of college football. Started in 1889. 5.9 million players and coaches. There's so many that are players that are in the College Football Hall of Fame, and I'm looking at this College Football Hall of Fame. How many coaches are in the College Football Hall of Fame? And all of a sudden, I'm kind of thinking, what is? And then at the very bottom, it said, welcome. You're like part of the family. And I just broke down. I mean, I broke down. I couldn't believe it. And then I was wondering if it was really true. I thought for a brief moment, if one of my buddies did this to me, I'm going to blow up their car. But at the end of the day, I run into the shower. My wife's in there, and she was scared because she thought something happened. I mean something bad. And I said, read this. And I showed her the card, like this, and I'm crying. And she goes, ah! She started screaming. It was really touching. And I hear that's not their first rodeo, obviously, but that's how they do it. The AD from Toledo, the AD here at Missouri. Both schools knew when that was delivered, and they wait 24 hours and they get a hold of you. It was remarkably emotional, and I'll never ever forget it. And honestly, periodically that whole day and the next day, I was in the corner sniffling a little bit. I have to say this though, one of the great things about football, it's the greatest team sport of any sport that's out there. You got guys that weigh 170 pounds playing. You got guys that weigh 370 pounds, and you guys got 6'6", and you got guys 5'3". And at the end of the day, it's the greatest team sport ever. And this is all about the people that I've been surrounded with. I've been surrounded by great people my entire life, and I've said that often to people. That's been a blessing. And to that point, you get a bunch of great coaches, and you get a bunch of great players, kids committed, want to be part of a team atmosphere, want to win at a high level, make the sacrifices, want to still be a good student as you're doing all this stuff. And you bring it back, and when I'm looking at that football in front of me, there's a lot of people had to do with Gary Pinkel winning this award.
I know you're not a huge look back guy, but when you do look back on kind of the full body of work, are there benchmarks along the way where you say this is what led to this, what led to that, which culminates in something like this?
Well, I think the high level winning. I think at the end of the day, those first 4 years, winning, losing, winning, losing. They won one game in 4 years. Not very good. Then we started winning. Then we, 7 and 8, fourth or 15th in the nation, both of us back then. 10, we tie for it. And then we go to the SEC, and the SEC says, okay, here we're going. You're going to the big league. And then we win 2 back-to-back divisional championships, and we're a game away from playing the national championship. I think those are the things that just kind of go. If you take the first 4 years out, it's pretty incredible what happened. But those first 4 years are so important, and I tell those players that were part of that, they were so important for what the future became. and they helped mold, even though they're going to be here a few years before we became that we were. They helped mold and develop this team atmosphere that we have at Mizzou, and it's by the end of the day, it obviously worked.
You talked about how you weren't sure if you were going to make it in because you have a different story from a lot of other people. Can you elaborate what you meant by that? What's your different story?
Well, I heard a program with 2 winning seasons, 17 years, and so that's why all my buddies, coaching buddies, said, "What are you doing? We just were 10-1, just beat Penn State, and they won the championship year after we left. I wouldn't have come here without Mike Alden, and I knew Mike a little bit when he was Arizona State and that part of that, but just to say hi. But at the end of the day, I would never have come here without Mike Alden. And I remember talking to Mike. It's kind of funny. You look back at this. You're talking to Mike about. Right before I said committed to him, I said, "There's going to be a time when I'm going to need you. There's going to be a time when I'm going to need you." Well, losing, winning, and then we thought we were going to take off, and we went back to losing. And I met with him the next morning, which we did always try to get together the day after the season's over. And I looked at Mike and I said, "Remember that little conversation we had?" Just in case he was thinking of firing me. I thought I'd set it up a little bit better. But true story. And I said, "I need you now." And he didn't. He asked me about staff. And I said, our staff's great. A lot of head coaches get rid of staff to make it look like they're making changes. I will never do that, unless it's worthy. Then we finally started going like this, historically. And you take that part, and we won at a very, very high level. We were at the top 10, 15 winning for 8, 7, 9 years in a while in the country. Don't know the exact stats, but at the end of the day, that's kind of how we did it.
How much pride do you take in, you kind of mentioned this in your story, that every day, the responsibility, the day in, day out, the stuff that's not super glamorous, is that a big part of the pride you have in this accomplishment, that was recognized?
Yeah, that's my back. That's Don James, though. That's Don James who's he's in the Hall of Fame. Nick Saban's, we're going to be in the Hall of Fame. He talks about Coach James all the time. The systems approach and how you do it. You focus on making sure that you daily make sure all levels of your program, all the systems in your program are being critiqued, are being praised, just to keep making them better and better and better and better. That's what my job was. That's basically what it was. Coordinators had theirs within that. Other coaches had theirs. The seniors had their responsibility. And at the end of the day, that's how you get it done. You just don't go in and, well, I hope we do this. You help develop all these teams with a plan in place all the time. It was never just shoot from the hip, and we never believed in that. And I knew it was going to work. I just hope I could stay here long enough to make it happen, and that's where Mike says, "No, we're full go. You don't have to worry about it."
But how special is it to you that has been recognized, that approach has been recognized by the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, it has been, and I really feel real good about that. I didn't know if it was going to be. At the end of the day, I didn't know. And if you look at the story we talked about, the first 4 years, what it was like, and then kind of how we went like this, and we switched leagues, and I think obviously switching the SEC and doing well in the SEC, back-to-back divisional championships, that was huge. That was huge. That maybe is the difference of why we got in. I really think. If I stayed in the Big 12, we would have. And no disrespect, I don't know. But when you jump to that league, by the way, it's a great league. When you jump to that league and you can have the success we did, I think that maybe it stamped it. If you look back at it.
How much pride do you take in turning this program around and turning the expectations every year into something that fans expect to win, and that's because of you?
Yeah, it was great. It was kind of fun to see the fans change. When I first got here, I mean, it was kind of interesting to see that, and I got to praise my my coaches, assistant coaches, and my players. they're the ones that, they became Missouri Tigers, and this is how we are, and this is what we do. We don't debate it. We don't talk about this as what's responsibilities. This is developing leadership. This is developing being a great teammate. This is, I go on and on and on, all these things. And constantly you're building those things to make your program go at a high level. So I'm certainly honored. I think it's great now. The facilities are so good right now. It's a great for Coach Durank and his staff. Our facilities, and we're going to build a new indoor facility now, and it just, a little bit different when I was here. But with Mike Alden, we started building, doing a lot of things, and he kind of passed the baton on, and they've done a great job. So a lot of good things are in place, and recruiting well in the state of Missouri is very hugely important. We're doing great things there too. But at the end of the day, it's JWB, just win, baby, because that's what we have to do.
How do you summarize your legacy at Mizzou?
I'm not good talking about myself. I'm not good. I just want to be respected for building a high level Power 5 football program. That we did it as good as most anybody, and I feel very, very everybody, coaches, players, everybody. That's what I feel best about. And my players would tell you, they used to talk about the family atmosphere all the time. I had recruits telling me what my players told them, which is interesting, and that doesn't happen all the time. But at the end of the day, recruiting is hugely important, and that's kind of you got to have good players to win. It's amazing how better you coach when you got good players. Amazing how that works.
How do you feel like you cultivated that family atmosphere?
I think doing a lot of things, developing the trust of your players. We started a thing probably, I'm going to say in 2000, I'm not sure exactly when it was, 2010 or 11. And what we would do is we would split our team up. I'd have 9 players at my house. All the coaches would have 9, 10, the whole team up. And then what we did was we would grab, I would stand up and say, I'm Gary Pinkel. I grew up in Akron, Ohio. I tell my story for 2 minutes. My brother and sister had a disease called hereditary spastic paraplegia, and they're in wheelchairs when they were 15. And try to tell them about our program. I had a great mom and dad, loved me and everything else like that. Well, then the next guy goes up and says, guy goes up and said, well, I've never had a father in my home. My uncle takes care of me a little bit. And our players got a chance to see all the backgrounds of all the players. And that really did this. That did this. And that was huge. And so we did it. We did it a couple times a year, switch people up. When you understand the players and the things they had to go through, you had much more respect. And you know what? You had a much more want to reach in and help and understand that guy's got some problems, but we're going to help him because so on and so forth. But that's something that was huge, and we did it from that point on every year, a couple times a year.
How does that translate to the on-the-field product?
Well, that's my point, is that, there's this trust comes up, and it just, all of a sudden, instead of just being a teammate, it's almost like your brother. You know all about what he's been through. And you also sometimes look at yourself, I was like the luckiest guy in the world, take that approach. So there's not magic winning, there's nothing magic in winning. You got to do things right all the time, every day, like I said, every day. And, we did a lot of good things.
Coach, when you think back to your time at Kent State, looking back, for me it seems crazy. You and Nick Saban together on a football team together to see, what you guys have made yourselves into. What do you think about when you look
Well, I remember Nick and I, we're in graduate school, and we're watching the freshmen at study table in the library. To make sure they aren't messing around or anything like that. It was a little bit different than it is right now, but we watched that. So I remember us talking, and he's going, well, Nick's saying, I think I might try to give this a shot, and I'm thinking, yeah, I might too. I swear that was a conversation. Coach James had a huge influence on us. He had a huge influence on Nick. But at the end of the day, I don't know if I'd be coaching college football if Don James wouldn't have come there at the end of the day. And I'd give anything to have him walk through that door, so I'd give him a hug.